Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we believe that side proposition have always been doctrinized to then think that men are going to always be stronger than women, and also women are always going to be always going to be weaker than men, right? Therefore, we believe that this doctrinization closes their way of thinking that men still need protection from like the society, especially from something called crimes. Therefore, which we believe that crimes don't only happen towards women, in which we believe that men also get these effects, right? Therefore, two main problems that is needed to be talked about in this debate. A, why the harms under both sides is equal, or then B, why is it going to be even worse under your side, simply because forbidding something clearly increases the chances of people wanting to try them, right? In which we believe that let's move on into my counter framing panels. Firstly, on what motion is this? This motion is a policy motion. Therefore, the team that is going to win this debate is going to be the team that A, proves to you why equality of owning a firearm, especially for both genders, is inherently needed. But then B, why the world is going to be okay when both genders actually have the allowance of owning a firearm itself, right? But then okay, let's move on into the few failures of underside proposition, as also talking about the rebuttals and also clarifications under their side, right? Firstly, you realize under their side, crimes are inherently going to happen. Why is this? Firstly, even if the number of guns in the society decrease, it would just increase any other way of killing each other, like knives, baseball bats, etc. Therefore, the violence in human nature cannot be dismissed by proposition. What do I mean by this? When you're talking about a human nature, of course, you're not going to be able to then decrease and also erase this thing completely, simply because it's just how the world goes. Therefore, it's going to be a fiat on how both sides are still going to have the thing called crimes. Therefore, we believe that even if you were able to decrease it, it's not going to be effective, simply because that's just closing a way of accessing these dangers and also these forms of crimes, right? In which we believe that it's not going to be something that is needed, and also something that is going to be inherently needed and also inherently competent to then be able to decrease the amount of crimes itself. And in which, secondly, even if you care about like the torture and also the fear you get from guns is going to be higher, we believe that women are less likely to use it, simply because we agree on how they are scared to have that power on them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to equalize the violence of men. Then what's the point? This point is quite contradictory with all your speech since the start. Is you've been saying to decrease the amount of crimes, then if you know that it's going to happen, what's the point in doing that policy? Therefore, this many point of like efforts of you as the government of a country, or like of a society, I believe that is quite going to be quite hard for you to then apply this point. And then B, even if you were able to apply it, we believe that it's quite not effective, simply because the society always needs this point of equality, simply because they need this point of safetyness. Therefore, we believe that this point of safetyness is the only available under side opposition, right? But then thirdly, even if the sense of that sense of fear is going to be instilled towards men, it's still going to be hard to decrease that violence, simply because you realize women are considered to be weaker. And even if they were able to protect themselves, what's the guarantee she's not going to be traumatized after like killing someone, etc., right? But then even if trauma still happen under our side, it's going to be decreased, since men also have that power. And the status quo have already characterized that itself. It's more likely for you to then shoot in fear when you realize that your opponent also put fear into you. Therefore, it's going to be more effective under our side, simply because we have both like sides like equal, rather than just one side as, or like one gender to have that power, right? Therefore, let's move into my second rebuttals panels. On the exactly because you think that it's such a simple central use of power, women are not meant to create. Women are not meant and not created to do that. Meaning that your mechanization on how women still need a license is also going to be hard for you, simply because not every woman is still going to be built to use guns and also get guns itself. Therefore, we can question your benefits, simply because A, you're not going to be able to reach that, and then B, even if you were able to do that, you've been saying that men have always been stronger. Therefore, we believe that the safetyness under your side is still going to be like the very unreliable panels. But then thirdly, panels, they said that equality is not necessarily going to matter, in which they said that men are genetically stronger, and like biologically, like they are very stronger rather than women. I feel like when you're a strong man, then when you see that your robber is a girl with a gun, of course she's gonna win that fight, even if the utmost reasonable reasoning you can come up with, it's not going to be viable, since we can flip and just say that we're only human after all. Even if you say things like, for you, you're able to fight, like, look at also how the many narratives on how, like, you are able to do like martial fighting. We just look at how many narratives on how, like, those things are going to be useless, except if you're like brawling in like the side of the street, right? Therefore, let's move on into my arguments. Firstly, on the point of practicality, on how the world is going to look like. Under government, they've been saying that equality is useless and not feasible for men to have guns itself. But then let's take a look on what would happen when we suddenly apply this policy, right? You realize that the high storage on illegal distributions of guns is going to be incentivized to be protected by higher criminal classes, simply because it's the main source, or it's their main source of protection, and also their main source of like profit. Therefore, they're gonna accumulate as much as they can, right? Therefore, even if the progressivity of the world is going to decrease the likelihood of people gaining guns itself, we believe that the simple analogy to beat this point is going to be like a landmine or like an M1 Quran from World War One is still going to be able to kill you, right? Therefore, the violence and also crimes can still happen under both sides, in which we believe it's going to be worse for you, simply because you have many like unequal things, or unequal policies, in which is going to increase the fact that the protest, especially in the society, simply because they want to give check and balance, in which this check and balance is still going to be hard for you to be able to get, simply because you don't allow people to have guns at the end of the day. But then but then B, why is it going to be better for us? We believe that not all men are strong and not all women are weak, right? Everyone have their own needs, and this micro act is the thing that is not going to be available under side government, simply because they're already focusing on it on if you are a man, you're strong, then you can have a gun, meaning proposition do not have the humanity, or like the point on like equality, etc., right? But then C, the government already says that men have been doctrinized to be playing shooter games, etc. Therefore, we believe that the main solution on which you can only come up with is that going to be you're going to be lessening all those great games, in which creates the childhood and happiness of men itself. But then secondly, simply because the less happiness of people, creating no public task, in which you as a government and also like you as a part of society is going to be cancelled anyway. But then okay, let's move on to my second point on the point of equality, right? The main parameter under this point is going to be only that both genders have protection, not only that both genders have like a violence act, but on the point of protection itself. Why is this? Simply because the point of protection and also safetyness is going to be the main point that is going to be debated, simply because it's not something that is not available under both sides. Yes, we believe that the main problem here is that women still need the protection, in which we believe that you realize that women under both sides are still equal, meaning that when you say that women are still weak, women need those things, and women needs those protections, we believe that at the same time that thing aligns toward the women under our side. Therefore, we believe that this point of equality is going to be better under our side. Therefore, under side opposition, the fulfillment of getting the point of or the principle of justice or like equality is going to be more viable, simply because we don't give like we don't limit people to then have these things, especially towards each gender. Therefore, the safetyness is going to be under our side, and then the equality is going to be under our side, rather than just rather than just proposition that is trying to fulfill their needs of like their imagination on like safetyness, etc. Therefore, we are so proud to oppose.